glass turn out to be problematic for users in Cinema 4D, and this is not because of Cinema 4D, it is rather because of some misconceptions how actually glass works in the real world. So let's build a glass shader. We will naturally create a new material. We'll name it glass and double click to open its properties and play a bit with the settings. The most important thing about glass are these two channels, this transparency and the reflection guy, because the glass is both transparent and reflective. It exhibits both of those behaviors. So let's try with the transparency first. And I generally suggest you always to start building your glass from transparency channel. Often new users and beginners and even somewhat experienced users are really terrified when you have many settings in some property or material, but you don't have to be. You can leave this total internal reflection, exit reflections and Fresnel reflectivity as it is. Don't even worry about that. This will give you more quality. Okay? So you can completely forget them. Only after you really have some experience in building glass you can play a bit with these settings. This additive option, I suggest leaving it always off. It basically means when you set a color here, will be reduced if transparency is big enough. So that color will diminish. If you are going to force additive, you will enable somewhat unrealistic behavior, but sometimes it can be exactly what you are looking for. So you will preserve color information regardless of this intensity of the transparency. Okay, hope you get that. And the main guide here, if you render now, a small preview render, actually I have my shadows on and it will take some time, and maybe this is a good time to show you a nice little trick that I really use often, just to optimize my workflow. You see, whenever you have some sort of a setting, for example, that you often use or change, but you have to click a few times and find the tab and really do additional clicks just to get what you want. What you really want to do to speed things up is, whenever there is some property here or anywhere inside Cinema 4D, you can right click on it and say add to HUD, and that HUD means heads up display. And if I do that, you will see that my shadow type is now visible in the viewport, and you can move these little gizmos around while holding Control key down, and you can place them wherever you want just to have them accessible really quickly. What I always like to do, if I deselect this light, that property will disappear currently because it's visible only when it's light selected. I also want to right click on this guy and say show always. Okay, you have numerous options here, but this always is really simple to understand. So it will always show regardless if you have this light selected or not. Okay, so you can now change this setting from here in one click. So I will set my shadows to none. So I can really test things out with shadows or none, and you can stack as many as you want, and you can even create collapsible menus. So that is one more very powerful thing in Cinema 4D. So let's get back to our glass material, and if I do a preview render now, naturally nothing will happen if I don't apply that material. So I can drop it here on the glass, and you will see that there is absolutely nothing in the scene, because for the glass really to show up, it has to refract the light, so it has to break the light, and here you have that refraction value, which is really important. There is a list of refraction values in Cinema 4D for some really standard materials, and I suggest always use 1.51 as your starting point. That's the value of the common glass. And you can already see we have some quality improvements. And if you increase this value, you will get more refraction. 4 is the maximum. It will become really dense. You can see that. Let's give it some time to render. Something like this. So you can really play along. The values below 151 will give you even thinner result. The glass will appear more thinner. Let's try something really small, like 1.01, and you will see that that glass is really barely visible. You can also enter values lower than 1, for example 0.9, and then you will get a different property from glass. It will exhibit more reflectivity and behave a little bit more like a metal. But I suggest always leaving it at 1.51 for the starting point. The next setting is common, you know it. You can load pretty much anything that pops to your mind here. And you have an absorption color here. And this setting is really easily understandable. It means when light reaches some sort of a distance, in this case 100 centimeters, then it will gradually take the color you set here. So if I set something here like maybe this bluish color and do a preview render, you will see nothing happen, but you will see something happening here in the preview. And the reason we don't see that effect here is that this glass is not 100 centimeters thick, so there is no room for this color to appear. Scale that down to something like 2 maybe centimeters, you will see the effect. So the glass will become tinted with this color. So the thicker the glass, it will become more tinted with this color. We can try, for example, really low value like 0.01, and it will almost completely become colorized with that color. Let's set that to 100 and put a default value here, and we are back to square one. What I almost always prefer to do, I load a Fresnel shader. I explained what Fresnel shader does, and glass exhibits that behavior. But in this case, I want inverted value for this gradient. So I will right click and invert that, and I will get the result I really want. Okay, something like this. The next thing that I play with is this reflection. Let me enable this reflection channel and see what we get. And we're making some really nice progress regarding the glass. And this is actually it. This is what you have to do to get really nice glass. The problem is we don't have any other objects in our scene, because for glass materials to appear really vivid and natural, they have to reflect something. So you have to have many objects in the scene, or you can fake it with this environment channel. And in later lessons I will show you how HDRI maps can really bring up this to life. So you can fake reflections to appear only on that object, okay? Only on that, within that shader you have created for the specific material. And since I really want to talk about HDRI later, I will just maybe load some shader here just to create those little dispersions, or really to fake them, since Cinema 4D really can't do dispersions. And I will load a spectral shader in the environment and simply use this CD effect. And you will see a subtle colorization on the glass. I could even maybe add maybe one more color here, something like maybe yellow. Something like this, just to get more colorization in that effect. So you can already see it really came to life a bit, and maybe I'll drop this intensity to 1.5 just to tune it down enough so it doesn't appear so vivid. It will be a slightly lower value, something like this. And I will really show you how you can construct really believable glass when you load a HDRI map here and play with the settings, or even maybe layer up some effects and something like that. But the key to really good glass is not the glass itself, rather the objects around it, and faking those objects in environment channel. Okay, you can even fake reflections in reflection channel. So we will explore that but a bit later. Okay, so let's build our next shader.